Hello and welcome to the Wendell Effect for India. This is Brandon Wendell with you for the week of 26 February 2023. Just a quick reminder before we get started, the TMO or its personnel are not registered broker-dealers or investment advisors. We're taking a look at this information from an educational standpoint only, not telling you to buy, sell, or hold anything in particular, giving any personalized recommendations. Past performance is no indication of future results, and we are not subject to trading restrictions. We got a position of security, initiate one at any time. Go ahead and stay in touch with me, please. I'd love to hear back from you, get some feedback, get some ideas of what you'd like me to talk about in the new videos. You can also hit me up on Twitter at TraderBdub. And please make sure you hit like and subscribe. That way you can go ahead and get notified when new videos come out. And you can stay in touch with us. And of course, enjoy your feedback here on the YouTube website as well. So starting off, last month, been pretty red here, as you can see, pretty much across the board, a few exceptions. Looking even at the last week, it was pretty beat up as far as Nifty in the markets, very, very red. So looks like, unfortunately, it may continue a little bit. You do look at the history, 60% though from February 26th to March 23rd has actually been bullish for the last 15 years. Really, it shows red, but that's only because of those two big years, 2008 and 2020. The rest of the time, we've been pretty bullish. You take those years out, and it's much more blue, which means it was bullish than bearish over that, this particular month. Unfortunately, it doesn't necessarily translate to us having a bullish month. We are very close to hitting this demand zone again. We've already tested it one time. However, we're getting more momentum. So if we come into this demand zone and exceed that retracement that we're at right now, basically demand being 16,855 to 17,348. If we hit that area and the RSI dips below 40, we should be able to break it and move all the way down to this next demand at about 16,250 or so. If we don't go below 40 with the momentum on the RSI, then expect us to get a little bit more of a bounce or sideways movement. Looking at the daily Nifty, you can see that when we rallied, we made it into this daily supply that had marked off for us. Actually, it was last week or a week or so ago, almost 2 weeks now, and we couldn't get momentum above 60. I was mentioning that in the chart at the time, and sure enough, it led to more weakness. Well, our next stop would be down here at 17,035, and it looks like we're going to continue down. We've got plenty of momentum to take us that way. And on the 4-hour chart, before we go down to those levels, we will get a little bit of a bounce at 17,129. We do have a demand there, but it does look like we got lots of selling pressure to get down first before we get some sort of a bounce. This would be a good selling area here at 17,800 if we bounce, because that's a good supply. You got that drop, base, drop area. Looking at Reliance, this is very, very weak. Same thing like with the Nifty, where we couldn't get above 60 on the RSI. Reliance could not do that as well. We also ran into the origin of that collapse at 50% retracement and started pushing down yet again. We might get a little pause here at 2270, but the 2250 area is the stronger demand. Then we might go a bit sideways. That'll probably be our downside target this week, maybe 2300. I don't think we'll quite get down to the demand, but maybe 2300, I think, this week. Looking at TCS, you can see that overall, this is a relatively bearish time, especially the last 5 years. Throw out the one exception, it's been mildly bearish, but bearish nonetheless. So looking at the chart here for TCS, it looks like the slide that we're in right now may continue. Once again, watch momentum. If the RSI dips below and closes on a candle below 40 on the daily chart, expect us to continue to sell off. If it doesn't close below, then we're probably just going to move sideways. But overall, we're seeing lots of weakness right now in TCS. Infosys is pretty much the same as well. We had a negative divergence. We rallied but could not get above 60. That's confirmation of a bearish trend and bearish reversal. So now we've got lower highs, lower lows. It looks like Infosys will probably continue down to this 1480 area of demand. That's next. Rally, base, rally. So I got 1480 as my target. May not hit it by the end of this week, but it is going to be working its way down towards that area. HDFC Bank, it was interesting. It tried to break out of the sideways range, did a false breakout, couldn't even make a new high, couldn't close above 60, and now we're bearish again. Look for it to shoot down a little bit lower than these prior lows, but bounce. I don't think we're ready to break out of this range quite yet. We might be. Again, it kind of depends on how much momentum we get, but as of right now, we're at least going to probably take out the prior low and then bounce. ICICI Bank also looks very bearish right now. Not as bearish as HDFC Bank does, but definitely seeing a bunch of weakness. My downside targets are 778 and 716. However, we may open up with a little bit of a bounce up to 850 before we drop again. Looking at the Bank Nifty or Nifty Bank, you can see that overall it's been pretty flat. It does look like it's overall bearish, but no, when you really look at it, other than 2008 and 2020, it's really been kind of mild. Honestly, it's been somewhat bullish for the past 15 years, going into March 23rd. So looking at the chart, you can see we retraced down. We pretty much doing the same thing as the Nifty with that bounce. And once again, we're coming down into a little bit of buying pressure right here, right at the beginning of this green candle from, I guess it was in mid-October, mid to late October for the weekly chart there. So if we end up breaking down and getting a close with the RSI below 40, expect us to continue to sell off, possibly all the way down to this 35,300 area. That's the next area of demand. Looking at the daily chart, we just bounced off this daily first projection. We had an impulse correction projection. So we are getting a little bit of a bounce. We will probably bounce up just shy of 40,000 before heading back down again. Actually, a little over 40,000. Sorry, shy of 41,000. So we're getting a little bit of a bounce here before we head down. But we got plenty of bearish momentum to take us at least to the next target of 38,320. We might get stalled out a little bit here at the 39,118, but that's my next target ultimately at 38,320. And looking at the 4-hour, this is our bounce that I was just talking about. We're getting a little bounce off that projection area. We might pull back roughly to 40,762. I said just below 41,000. That's probably the target that we're looking at for the bounce this week before we head lower. And ultimately the target 38,320. So for some trade ideas, be following up first. ABC Capital, we unfortunately just kind of broke and went a little sideways before drifting a bit lower. This still may happen where we bounce off this demand, but it's definitely going to take a while. Won't happen this week. So probably not going to want to trade that one, unfortunately. UCO Bank actually did bounce off our entry spot. However, the RSI was below 40, which means we shouldn't go in. We got too much bearish pressure. If you did get in, be patient. There may be another retest. Usually when you start to move up while the RSI is below 40, you don't make new highs without a retracement. So this week, we're probably going to pull back and give another entry. Now, the entry would only come if we get a positive divergence where we get a new low, but a higher low on the indicator. If that happens, I would look for a nice bounce and enter. If it doesn't, I'd stay out of this if you're not already in. IOC unfortunately hit target number 1 before it hit the entry. So another problem is we got too much bearish momentum. I'm still keeping an eye on it, but it really has to impress me and give me a good entry. Basically a nice positive divergence or hitting the demand with the RSI above 40 before I will think about going long. Anyway, that's what I got for you this week. A little bit shorter video. If you got any questions, please shoot me an email, brandonwendell.cmt@gmail.com. You can hit me up at TraderBdub on Twitter, where I keep posting things throughout the week. And please, please, please hit subscribe and like for the videos. That way I can continue to bring you this content for weeks and weeks and weeks to come. So thank you very much for being here. Till next time, trade safe, trade well, and take care, everyone.